would like to welcome you all to the Esharelife think tank in collaboration with the Medical Mission Sister with the patronage of the San Marino Consulate. Founded on the principle of giving back to society, Esharelife Foundation is a charity with one mission: to share life in the digital era. Its ultimate goal is to create new and support existing opportunities for people living in most disadvantaged area of the world, to lift themselves out of poverty by empowering them to build a path towards a self-sufficient future. It supports education programs for children and the young people worldwide, for those in developing countries and in developed nations, and works to provide access to education for girls and women who have denied it. Esharelife Foundation is very pleased to have organized, in cooperation with the Medical Mission Sister, this webinar dedicated to an exceptional person, Dr. Anna Maria Dengel, who founded Medical Sister Mission in Washington, D.C. in the 1925. Our guest of tonight, this afternoon, is a Professor Miriam Therese Winter. Had the opportunity to work closely with Dr. Dengel, and they established a bond that would deepen through the years. So, and tonight, Sister Miriam, they're going to tell us the experience and to describe the incredible person of Dr. Anna Maria Dengel. Professor Winter got a PhD from Princess Princetown Theology Seminar and the 4 honorary doctorates, and has been on the faculty of Hartford Seminary since 1980. Currently, Professor Emerita of Transformative Leadership and Spirituality. She's a metaphorical theologian. I'm still a little bit dyslexic, so I apologize for that. Who emphasize spirits and the unified energies for this of the sacred in a quantum universe. I hope that you will enjoy this webinar, and without losing much of your valuable time. And also, my curiosity is more than yours. I want to immediately to listen Professor Winter, Sister Hannah, Sister Miriam to introduce us this fantastic story of Dr. Anna Maria Dengel. So, Sister Miriam, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I'm on one hand deeply grateful for this opportunity and the privilege of being able to share the story of an amazing woman with such a wide audience. And I'm also quite frankly terrified at the assignment, how to reduce someone who was so much larger than life to a short period of time in a way that makes some sense and has some coherence. It's the second time I have attempted a task such as this during the period of this pandemic. During the last year and some months, I decided to write a very short life of Jesus from another perspective, and the core elements that the through text or the theme that runs through the whole thing is the same theme that is going to be here in my speech today. It's not about Jesus, it's what Jesus was about. So I want to tell you the story of Anna Dengel in exactly the same way, in a sense, give you her story, but to remind us at the end, it's not about her. It's about what she was about. And what she was about is what so many of us, not only medical mission sisters, not only those within situations that help the poor in any which way around the world, but so many of us who are deeply determined to live a faith-filled life reaching out to those in need, embracing all, trying to be a healing presence, a pioneering presence, a healing presence in the world in which we live. So having said that, let me begin Anna's story back in 1892. Imagine. And I knew this woman. So just think about how old I am. 1892. She was born in an alpine village of Steg, a teeny little village with a deep, rich history, as so many of the European areas, villages, and cities have. Her ancestors came from the north 5 centuries earlier. The Dengel family traces its lineage to the time when her father took over the family home in Steg, and the little village of Steg in the Alpine, in an Alpine opening there in the middle of the Alps, okay, in a village. And he married the woman 1 mile away, Gertrude, and Edmund and Gertrude made a home there in Steg, and he was a businessman, okay? He traveled, he was a merchant, and he was the one, and his family were merchants for centuries. So he would go out beyond the Alps to other places, to other countries, and get whatever the villagers needed before the storms set in, and they would be locked away for the rest of, the winter. So he was a merchant. He met this woman in 1 mile away in a little village, Gertrude. They married, and Anna Maria was born in 1892 March, okay? And in short succession, she had also some siblings. She had a little sister, a little brother, another little sister. And as things emerged, her mama, Gertrude, was also a seamstress, and a beautiful one. So her father, Edmund, began selling her seamstress, her stoles and all the things that had to do with whatever was needed for the sanctuary, for mass, all of those things. So they had a thriving business, but it was no place to raise your children with a good education. It was only a 1-room schoolhouse. So they had moved to Hall, which is a city outside of the Alpine Hills. She went to school there, and mother was pregnant with another child. And shortly after the birth of the little boy, Carl, her mama died. And this then becomes one major significant moment in the life of Anna. Somehow, something within her died as well. And this little 9-year-old curled up, and she couldn't function. She just slept and slept. She would go out, and her father took her back to the village, and she went to a tree and she slept under the tree. She could not function. The doctor said, take her home to die. She is dying. She's not going to live. And this agony of loss of her mama, she somehow could not come out of it. And then all of a sudden, one day, without realizing, nobody actually knows what happened, she was ready, she went to the church, and she was prepared enough to make her first Holy Communion, and she did. And something changed within her. She saw this statue of the Sacred Heart, the suffering of Jesus, who she felt understood her suffering. And she said there in some way, as only a little child can, I am going to give my life to you in some way. So she turned completely around. Her father remarried. He had some other children. He sent his 2 girls, she and her sister, to this convent school where she got a really good education, okay? And it's amazing what they taught these visitation sisters in Hall, in the village of Hall, the city of Hall. She learned about the environment. She learned about rocks. She learned about animals, bugs, plants, everything she had an interest in. She did it completely. She would collect things, and she learned languages. She was fluent in German. She became fluent in French. And this is this girl about 11, 12, 13 years old, fluent in French, and she began working on Italian. And she graduated at the age of 16 And there was a call from Lyon in France. They needed someone to teach high school, as we would say high school, but middle school boys. They needed someone to teach German, okay, to teach German to these boys. And of course, that being her language, they agreed to take her. So she went at the age of 16 out of her country over to Lyon, France, and taught over 200 middle school boys English. Okay. I'm sorry, French. French and no, German. I'm sorry, German. She went to Germany and taught them German. She went to France and taught them German. And she became so connected with them. They were her peeps, so to speak. And then she saw so many things. She saw the water for the first time, the seaside. She went to the mountains. She went to the villages. Her whole world opened up. And she found a little mission pamphlet. And she said, she was so, and she had before that always given her little coins to the mission, the poor babies out over who needed the monies in some other country. So she was drawn to the missions. She was drawn to some kind of dedicated life. She did not want to enter a convent, but there was nothing else there. And she had two aunts who were nuns. One was a missionary, the other was a contemplative. They were pulling her both ways. So she went home and helped her father in his business. And she helped him sell all his stuff over the mountains and everywhere. She became a very good merchant, so to speak. She also became more aware of the missions and the needs of the babies and other cultures that needed something. And what's emerged then was the connecting of her life with a woman named Agnes McLaren, a physician from Scotland, who was a Protestant who at the age of 60 became a Catholic. And she was going to Rome trying to convince the Vatican to change canon law so that nuns, women religious who were fully vowed, could practice the full scope of medicine, out there in the areas of India at that time, India, where they had a little hospital in Rawalpindi, in the Punjab, in what was then India, now Pakistan. And that was her dedication. And so Anna heard about that, got interested, and Agnes bankrolled, so to speak, Anna to get her MD with the commitment she would stay 5 years at the mission hospital and then could do what she wished with her life. Long story short, you have to remember this as when she finally got her degree from Cork, the University at Cork, that the war was going on. She was Austrian with a German language. And while she was at Cork, one of the ships was blown up in the Cork harbor. And so she was the enemy everywhere she went. Her passport said she was not. She had to check in everywhere because she was a foreigner and she was enemy. But she was befriended by the president of the university, by this teacher, and she graduated, got her degree, became a physician with honors, and she won the gold medal. Can you imagine? As one of the best students. So there's something about this woman, this young girl, becoming a woman that was so much larger than life. She goes out to the Punjab. She goes to this hospital. She is there she comes and she's the only physician in that whole area, in that hospital. And she has the support of 3 religious women from a community and they were nurses, but they were strictly, they were barred from doing certain things. They could not assist at most surgeries. They could not see the male body. They couldn't even see the female body naked, according to their rules. They couldn't do postpartum anything. They couldn't help deliver babies. When she did surgery, they would stand, someone would stand outside the OR and hand the things that she needed, her tools or materials, into her. And then, of course, they had to go to bed at 9 o'clock after prayers. So she was on night duty. And then so this went on, she was surgeon, she was midwife, she was obstetrician, she went out into the villages, did all kinds of work, helping people out there in village things, went out into the hillsides. This went on for over 3 years, and you can imagine burnout. At some point, she said, "There's got to be something," and lots happened in that. I'm kind of finishing. I'm taking the main line, the through line story here. Okay, to say that this amazing woman then comes and connects with someone who really wanted to do something and build something up, and she comes to America. Okay, comes into my territory. What was so deeply moving for me this past year was we're celebrating, women, the womanist movements, marching up the avenue in New York, getting the right to vote back in the 20s. And it came shortly after the women's suffrage movement kind of turning New York and pretty much other parts of the country on its heels. And she wasn't a radical feminist, so to speak, but she just was in the sense of she couldn't believe that this couldn't be done and that women couldn't do this. And she needed help, and these guys had the money and she wanted it. And you know what? She got support. She got funding. She would show pictures. She made sure and told stories. And there were several bishops that supported her, priests that supported her. She got the money. I'm going to cut all through to the chase because it's a long life. Okay, she gets back. The hospital in Rawalpindi, before she goes, she meets Michael Mathis, a priest, because she was thinking all along, we have got to have an organization that can provide this medical help with continuity, with all of the services that are needed, really trained women. And so that's what she established. Long story short, she started it in Washington, DC. She began and she got the support, and so many things happened. She traveled the world. She started, women went out and did services in different places, villages. And in 1936, after much lobbying and a lot of good proof that this is a viable and very necessary mission and ministry, canon law was changed in Rome. And so women could practice the full scope of a full scope of medicine. Women with canonical vows, women religious, could practice the full scope and still be religious. That was a major turning point in the history of the church. And so she went back, and then there are stories I could go until, I wrote a whole book, too big. It's too big to even, when I get started with something, if you love, I went through all of her, and I did this as an academic, okay? So I went to all the back places where all of her files were in the archives, and because I relish that kind of thing. I'm a poet, but I'm also one of those that loves to get the backstory and the data and the real stuff, the stuff you can't put into a book, but oh my goodness, gives you a picture of the real person. This woman was amazing. And so we have institutions around the world, everything is lining up. And canon law changed in 1936. We were able, as a community, she was able to make final vows in 1941. She moved from Washington, settled in Philadelphia, where the Archbishop was totally in her corner, and began then spreading out. And we were an official community. And in 1955, voila, I arrive. I come to this place. I entered. I came the year before with my girlfriend, a high school. I was in 16. We snuck away from our homes. We could not tell my parents what I was doing. We took a train, we took a bus, we walked a mile. We got to the property in Philly from northern New Jersey. And I met Anna Dengel for the first time. And she was so earthy with her accent, and kind. And then she looked at me, she says, "You're too young. You're too young. Go back and finish high school and go to college and get a degree. So that was that. She says, come back again when you're ready. I went home, and the next year I came back with my mama to see if she would take me. And I'm there, and again, talking. I met her, and then the person who was the one for admissions. And finally, my mother kept going on and on and on, but you can't take her. She's too young, da, 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 da. And my mom stopped and she said, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? If my daughter wants this, you do what she wants. She was selling me, even though she was trying to talk them out of taking me. She was telling them, how could you not take her? And she gave all the merits that I had. So I entered. Okay, I entered and was privileged to be there as a postulant novice, first professed, in the presence of Anna Dengel before she moved on to Rome. And I was made the guest mistress, so I would see all the different people she met and listen into their conversations about what was happening. And she loved music, and we loved Gregorian chant, and we were good at that, and all the wonderful music of the history of the church. Wonderful choir. I loved music, and I did plink plink, a little bit of organ because I knew a little bit of piano. And she moves on to establish us globally. She moves on to Rome, and I am there, and Vatican II is emerging, and there's talk of we're going to go into vernacular or whatever. Somebody needs to learn music, and I was asked, since I had entered to be a doctor, and let me tell you this for the record, I didn't enter Marino, which was competitive, because they had schools, and I might have been sent to teach. And the one thing I did not ever want to do in my life was teach. So much for the Holy Spirit, okay? But did not want to teach. I wanted to be a doctor, a real doctor, not a PhD doctor. I want to be a doctor, I want to go to missions. I wanted to be out there in the trenches. So I went to music school. I got my degree, and Vatican II changed the language to the vernacular. And all my training at Catholic University in the Latin and with the motets, really loved it. Gregorian chant and playing the organ, it was useless because we didn't own an organ. The language was gone. Everything was there. And here I am in Philadelphia asked to teach the novices. And I thought, just shoot me, get it over with, it's over. I picked up a guitar because that's what was happening. And I sang out of the agony of what I felt was defeat. And the song that made it to a gold record and all around the world, I sobbed into existence at our little home on the little lake we had. I saw raindrops on my window, joys like the rain. Christ asleep within my boat, whipped by wind, yet still afloat. I'm screaming, Jesus, how could you do this to me? I got all of this, I'm useless. I'm useless, I can't do anything I've been trained for. That was the beginning of the me that evolved and is with you here today. I was privileged to pick up the pieces that meant so much to Anna about getting the word out, a medical missionary magazine, a book, if it matters, with a book about the society, the music, and I began the songs. Of course, they were forbidden to be used in the Catholic Church, still are in the USA, believe it or not, the formal church, but everywhere else they are. The Protestant churches took them. So we went out to the Protestant churches, and every single denomination you can imagine welcomed me, and we shared and we talked. So there was this big ecumenical sense of oneness that actually prepared the way for the rest of my life. That sense of we are one world, and which is what Anna felt deeply. She then would keep in touch with me, and she would say, have you written any other songs, Miriam Teresa? And I sent her one for her 80th birthday, and she loved it. And then I did a kind of went around Africa and to visit our missions, and the thrill of seeing all the little village women, children in schools and women singing these songs together with me. ended up in Rome, and there was a big meeting of superiors general from around the world having this meeting, and I was supposed to be a keynote speaker. So I'm coming out of Africa to Rome, got there, and the day of the talk, I hadn't seen Anna yet. There she is, half an hour before the talk began, standing at the big locked gates, iron gates of the Vatican, waiting for admission, first in line, fully habited. I come out of Africa with my summer thing, and in USA, the knee length was getting shorter. It wasn't long skirts. I come in, she didn't blink an eye, she didn't anything. And she was so thrilled that all those superiors general, their communities knew the songs of the medical mission sisters were singing. So we had that sense of oneness, and that has been the core of something that has meant so much to her. She has never, Anna Dengel never looks at, this is a Muslim, this is, when she was in the hospital, all the places, when she was in the mission hospitals, and anytime she went back, her care and her concern for everyone, the villagers, the women who were in seclusion, she would say, you must get vitamin D, you must go out into the sunlight. And they said, we cannot go into the sunlight. We can only go out at moonlight because the men are out. When they are sleeping, we can go out. And so many of them were badly deformed because they didn't have enough of the vitamin that they needed. And so she kept saying to them, you must do this, you must. So that sense of, she cared so much for the women, she cared so much for the children. She was just someone who was so much larger than life. I was called, I was in Australia when I heard she had died. And she has never left me, her spirit. And I say this honestly, every day we're in connection, we're connected, which has deepened within me that sense that I teach all the time in my courses or my classes, or I'm speaking right now about that. Deeply inherent in all creation, in every one of us, every one of you out there in these little boxes I see before me, out in the mission and ministries where you go and to which you will return, is spirit driven. The divine spirit, the spirit, the energy of that Holy Spirit is in all creation, all creatures. Anna Dengel understood that. She loved the environment. She wept one day when someone pulled up these little trees and were throwing them away. When she was still back, when we were sort of convent-y in Philadelphia, she walked in to the refectory, which is the dining hall, when they were eating, held this sprawling little tree. Who pulled up this tree? This is God's creation. It was wonderful. I mean, she was weeping. You pulled up the tree. She cared about the environment. She also cared about diet, and cared about getting the right medicine, things that you needed to have. So after she passed, after she died, and some years later, I had this dream. I had a dream about her, and it was like down. I was going down, really deep down, and I knew I was entering into a tomb. And there was a big open space down, and I heard this voice, and it was her voice. She says, deeper, go deeper, go deeper. And I said, I've gone as far as I can, go deeper. And I woke up, and I knew she was telling me, go deeper into my own story. There's more to what I care about. There's more to the passion that has driven me. There's more to what I've left behind than is known. Go and look. And so I spent 10 years, that other side of this Gemini that when I do it, I can get into the archives and read all this stuff. And then come back to the metaphor side and try to make some sense of it and try to make it coherent. to other people, which in a sense, I'm struggling to make a talk about a woman who is so much larger than life, who deserves a week-long speech to even present a partial piece of her. I'm trying to cram this into 20, 25 minutes. But I'm hoping I will whet your appetite so that you will explore more deeply into the mission and ministries of the Medical Mission Sisters, who now have a wide range of associate members, and particularly strong in the United States, who are persons who are not only female, but also male, who are not only Catholic, but also other denominations, who are sharing the two key themes that I would like to leave with you as I kind of bring my formal talk to a close, and we can then go back and forth with questions. The two words of the legacy of Anna Dengel, this sense of a pioneering spirit and a healing presence. She was always a pioneer, first and foremost. She would have a settlement, get this organized, and she'd move on. Always pioneering, and not just in one area, pioneering every which way. There was something over the horizon that drew her, which actually really is what we call the Holy Spirit pulling us further out of our complacency, out of our limitations, out of our locality. I once had this sense of, when I was, I don't know, in my metaphorical side, trying to write or sing something, I had this sense of myself breakdancing on the edge of the universe and just falling off into the spirit of the divine, out into, and then it got me into quantum spirituality and quantum energy and quantum science, which actually filled Anna, but she didn't have the vocabulary or the language to say it. And so I'm making myself a spokesperson for her, this person larger than life, a pioneering spirit, always starting over, always beginning again, always going beyond the horizon, and a healing presence. It's not just about the medical, that's a physical application, that's helping healing in a professional medical way. More deeper than that is this sense of being a healing presence, being healing by hearing one another into speech, by listening compassionately to the suffering, by being there as someone others can come to, unburden themselves, and walk away feeling supported and blessed. That's Anna's legacy. That's the legacy of the Medical Mission Sisters now, as they continue to kind of, and the best possible energies we have, try to reach out to the rest of the world. And it's also what I hold central to my own calling as I continue on the faculty of Hartford Seminary here in Hartford, Connecticut, that has a huge programs for Muslims and all Jews, Christians, all faiths, all people, women and men. And I remember Anna's dream. She'd say, someday Muslim women will come to America and get educated. And I feel that's a piece of her dream that I can help fulfill, because so many Muslim women are part of my programs at Hartford Seminary. And I hope that someday, maybe if we continue on this Zoom stream of education, which I can't see it disappearing, so I better learn how to do it, right? Maybe I'll see some of you on a Zoom stream while I'm in Hartford and you're wherever you are, and we can continue to reach out together to make this a more inclusive, more loving, less fragmented world, and continue the legacy of our beloved Medical Mission Sister founder, Anna Maria Dengel. Thank you.
Thanks a lot to Sister Miriam Therese and Professor Winter. Thanks a lot for the introduction. So how we work now? Normally what we give you the time is to raise hands. So any guest who wants to ask questions just need to raise their hands. Is in Zoom, so I'm sure that a lot of you know, everyone now knows, as Sister Miriam Teresa make very clear, is this new way how to connect the world. Zoom is not going to disappear. It's also a possibility for the future to being connect with the mission sister. And now, before I would like to pass, in the meantime, that every one of you wants to prepare a question or to raise their hands to ask a question to Professor Winter or Sister Maria Teresa, Sister Miriam Teresa. So which one you prefer? And you can see I've already translate Miriam in Maria, so you have to understand, you have to apologize me on that. And before I pass to Sister Rosemary that has got a question, Sister Rosemary. Rosemary should be able to should be unmute by Rico. Rico should unmute Sister Rosemary. In the meantime, I ask you a question that is, in the meantime that Sister Rosemary will be unmute by Rico. My question is, what kind of leadership? You are a professor of leadership. And what kind of leadership was Anna Dengel? So you have described a little bit of her life. You described that background, a background that I recognize a lot with myself, a background of merchant, a background of somebody that had to deliver, background that you need to, you always, as you mentioned the last part, you need to pass, thanks to the Spirit, you have been able to move from your comfortable zone always. And you see the miracle, no? Because what you have described is, you see the miracle that all of our life, if we are honest, we can see that miracle, the miracle that every time that we follow that present, we are going to achieve something that we never expect, that no one can expect from you, like from an old student, a very bad student of English, like as I am, no one was expecting that I was becoming free man of the city. And so no one was expecting if he was able to talk in English. And that is somebody we forget that is a gift of the Holy Spirit. But the point is, what kind of leader Anna was? She was a leader in a time that a woman could not even have the possibility to study.
Thank you for that question. It's a really central one. Let me come from a personal perspective on that. My position on the faculty for many years, I brought into reality at the seminary a degree program in my teaching. It's called Transformative Leadership and Spirituality. And the word transformative is very key. And both leadership and spirituality, all those words are vitally important, okay? And I have programs and courses and all, and on that, which means transformative takes it out of the realm of simply the intellectual, the one side of the brain where you study all these tomes, you learn all this stuff, you apply it, you become wise, and you go forward. I'm not denigrating that, that's wonderful, but in addition to that, and the emphasis I bring is the other side. If I'm a theologian, I'm a metaphorical theologian, and I'm about that sense of that transformative. What changes you when you learn something? What transforms you and what drives you to the point that you have to change so that you can deliver or bring to being this important thing emerging? So all the students, we just had a graduation, and I could weep for hours with joy over the projects these individuals have designed that will transform various sections of society, because they study it, they equip themselves with the knowledge, and then they find ways and means to apply it, and then they network with others to spread, which is actually the energy, underlying energy of Anna in our society. She was always out there starting nursing schools so that they would be, the indigenous women would be the nurses. The indigenous doctors would rise up and be in charge of the departments. She was always trying to, so that energy, it's now we can call quantum energy is so much more aware. What we're doing on the screen now is telling us there's more power and potential in energy than we ever realized. We're catching up now, we who are in the fields of religion and all, it's not just about entertainment anymore. It's not just about, news getting out. It's about the things we value. We want to have them go further out. So that's what, when we do that, we're transformed, meaning it's not just I get a new idea and I put it with the other ideas, but something within is substantively changed forever. A perspective, an opinion, my own way of relating, my way of being in the world. So that's how I would answer that question in terms of a transformative leadership. And at the heart of it is not just data and knowledge in the head. It comes out of the other side. It's out of spirit. It's out of instinct. It's out of intuition. And it's not just the creed. It's the metaphor and the meaning that comes out of that, which means you can have both and at the same time. It can be this and that, not either this or that. Okay, so we're in a new world, and I'm ensconced in that one, academically and spiritually, and as a medical mission sister.
Thank you. Sister Rosemary, now I'm sure that your microphone has been open, so you can talk.
It has been. And as one of the many medical mission sisters present here today, we've all heard Anna Dengel speaking to us from the past. I also knew her, but speaking to us and telling us, I responded to the needs of my time. You need to respond to the needs of your time. So from your perspective, as we look at nearly 100 years of medical mission sisters responding to needs of the times, could you tell us what you see in today's world of medical mission sisters responding with a pioneering spirit and a healing presence today?
Thank you, Rosemary. I wish you would answer the question, you being leader, a leader of our society at this time and having more accurate global perspective than I have. But so I'm going to limit my response to my terrain in the United States of America, because that's where I'm more fully aware of the emerging energies. And so I can't speak for the whole world, can't speak for the society, nor would I ever do that. But from where I sit or act, things are changing drastically with exponential speed, and in terms of religious life and our sense of being a viable community, not only now, but into the future, we have to find more ways to meaningfully and seriously integrate those who will not be vowed religious, because I don't foresee in my own country that there's going to be that many of them to be able to sustain what we have in the way, certainly not the way we were, maybe in a new way, if we can reimagine what that is. So we need a whole lot of imagination and not just recruitment, because we don't know what we're recruiting into, okay? The future is changing so very quickly, but we need to listen to all aspects of society and say, is there a way that we can broaden the membership? And you can have different levels of membership, but the connectedness, because Anna always brought in other people who were not part of the society, but who were persons who supported us. How can we have a wider network that holds the values we have and are willing to dedicate time and energy and resources to making that happen? So we, I think, are on the cusp of a serious systemic shift in the United States of America. Things are changing oh so swiftly. And I don't need to tell you, any of you, that, because you have televisions. No matter where you are, you see the chaos and everything. But in the United States of America, we are founded for bringing the whole world in with equity, okay? And we just have to figure out how to make that dream that is partially true, to make it holistically true for those who have been not really supported, persons of color, other cultures, and all Muslim. That's the work I feel called to. That's the work I think more of us in the States are feeling called to. This is the question I feel we have to examine. We need to be really newly creative and say, what can we not afford to lose? What is the core that we carry on into the future? But what is the way we deliver that? What is the delivery system? How can we do that so that we don't lose the essentials. That would be my response.
Thank you.
So as I said, if anyone else has got a question, you can join, just raise your hands and or just put in the chat, and between us we are going to read. So anyone who wants, we just need to raise the hand. But I have now an additional question in the meantime that our guests, they are going to prepare their own question to you, Sister Miriam. In particular, after Sister Rosemary question, you said very clearly that Anna didn't start it for an idea. She didn't start it from what she thought. She started from as a very practical person. She started to study language, and then she moved, and then after a certain point in her life, she met the needs to be a doctor and to be a doctor in mission. But that was a fact. It was not an idea. It was something that she met during and for what you said, she also was a very good merchant. So she was a very good person that was able to she also know the word. She know to be a merchant means to know how the payment, the rate of the payment, to be able to deal. So the point that I have is it's this. You don't think that in particular in this world of transformation, as you said, leadership in transformation, the real message of Anna is to be contemporary to your world, and starting from fact and not from ideas, starting from what really the world needs, what the person needs. So what is that respect to the figure of Anna Dengel and the actual message that your confraternity is trying to bring and to sustain?
I'm so glad we have this on tape, what you just said, because you're getting to the core issue. There's a phrase that we've used theologically and philosophically, the disposable believable. What is at the core of something we believe, and what can we not afford to lose, and what is disposable? And if something is really believable, okay, and this is epistemologically, if something's believable, you have to present it in a way that people can understand it and then therefore believe it. So that means the outer wrapping or the means of delivery, the channel of delivery has to change, not only with the changing times, with the circumstances. So what you do in Pakistan cannot be done in Africa. And if what is in Africa in this country is not in that country. And now we're finding in the United States of America, what is on this street and in that city can't be done in that place either, like for certain things. My point though is the disposable, believable. She wanted to be formally religious. She wanted the hospitals. That's what was needed at the times. But what is needed now, what we have to look really deeply, what is at the core here that we cannot afford to lose? What if she were standing in our midst? What if she were one of these little faces on the screen, okay? Here, what would she say as a member of this conversation? Because she was always in the midst of others who were leaders. She brought them in, she listened to them, she got their ideas. She loved that, exchanging the ideas, seeing what would work for us, what we could keep, what we had to give away. So you put your finger on the absolute essential issue of our times, in my opinion, as a medical mission sister, as we look to the future of our own congregation and say, and then especially for myself, being in the United States of America, which is anything but united, okay, and is in a state of chaos at this moment, but it is America, and it is a dream, and it was her dream. She started there So I feel we have a responsibility to try to reimagine if she were with us now, at this moment of history, how would she approach the issues? How would she approach the situation? And what are maybe some baby steps for moving forward into the future so that what we cannot afford to lose is not lost? But some of the things we get mostly fall in love with is not the core, it's the dressing, it's, we don't fall, it's the outer layer. And but that's the disposable believable, dispose of the outer wrappings, get down to what is cannot afford to lose believable. And how can we present that in a way that is not forever, but is for now, okay, is for now. And with an attitude that when it needs to change again, Spirit will continue to deliver.
So we now have a question from Mary Helen Green. So please, Rico, can you allow Mary Helen Green to ask a question, please?
My question is, there a movement toward introducing the cause of Anna for canonization?
No, I could, we have here leaders of the community, and you can answer that, but the answer is no. I guess, yeah, I could give a personal opinion, but I won't.
I don't mean to say that you should be, but I was just curious.
Right, no. I don't think she would like that.
Okay.
That's my personal opinion.
As Dorothy Day would say, it's dismissing her too lightly.
It's dismissing her according to the criteria of who we think are saints. But in her opinion, she would lift up so many others, saintly people of villages and cities and different towns and different areas. In other words, to be set apart means that's not achievable by others, by everyone. When her whole reality is, this is just normal, this is normal life. That's the perspective I see in her. So my own opinion would be, this would be the exact opposite of, we would not be honoring the core of her reality. We would just be kind of feeling she fits now the framework of what we call saints, where she would call so many others that she met in her journey as truly saints. As I know, so many of us in mission and ministry now are doing the same.
There is a question on the chat box, so you have to excuse me, as I made very clear from the beginning, I'm a dyslexic, that at my time was considered that I was no good at math. So I try to read in the proper way. In particular, the name is Jyoti Kujur. The question is, Miriam, what would you think that Anna Dengel would say to us, a younger sister today? What is the message to the young sister today? There will be the same, go home, you are too young, as you say on the beginning.
Oh no, she would embrace the younger sisters with sheer delight. She would take them as they are, not try to squeeze them into a framework that emerged from the past and was viable and necessary and needed, but somehow have a framework that works for now, that allows them to be fully who they are, be able to be free to express their gifts and share them with others, and be so attractive to others by what they're doing that they would each be trailblazers of their own, leaders on their own, to say, I'm going out and I had this assignment, and all of a sudden 4 other village girls want to join that person because she is somebody they can be, not something that no one else can aspire to, not separate. That's what I would answer to that question, but that is my personal opinion.
Thank you. We have Professor Phil Harris that has got a question. So it looks like that the attendees have started to warm up. So yes. Warm up. So Professor, please, your question.
Thank you very much indeed, Maurizio. And Sister Miriam Teresa, lovely to hear your conversation and your introduction to sort of somebody who's clearly led, if you like, initiatives, I think, and really given vision to so many people. It's always a pleasure for me to talk to a Sister Miriam, because my mother's name was Miriam. And every time I mention that name, I often think of her. And, you know, she was a very passionate person who cared for, I think, those less able. She taught me that from a very early age, in that she unfortunately was blind. And she always used to say, never let anything stop you, and always look after people and care. And it's lovely to sort of hear your fine words. I suppose really reflecting, the thing I'm interested in is she will have seen, if you like, the Spanish flu epidemic and come through that. And now we're into what is probably the worst pandemic globally we've ever seen in our lifetimes. What do you think her lessons would be? I mean, clearly one of the things that hits many of us is the fact that we do need to provide healthcare, I think, to the weak and the vulnerable around the world. And that at the moment one can see there's almost a dispassionate sort of vaccination process. Some of us have benefited from it in the developed world, but clearly I think across the world, you know, there are issues. What do you think she'd say about COVID at the moment and the way we're handling it? Sorry to land you with that one, but it's the obvious one. Do forgive me.
Yeah, and especially probably the one least equipped to answer it from that perspective, from a medical perspective, because that's the one thing that I don't have, you know, the experience in. But she would just, like, we need to be there at the heart of whatever it is. We need to follow protocols that, you know, the scientists, because she was always listening to the professionals, you know, listen to the scientists, create safe places, do the medical, what needs to be done, whether it's in villages, clinics, you know. And so I don't even want to speak to that because I'm not medical. So I don't know what's happening. I'm not making a judgment out there. But I do think that when we're doing medical things, we would follow protocol of what best practices need to be done and do that. But I think there's a wider issue with the whole COVID thing, that how can we, and I'm taking my lead from my own country, and some of the most unbelievable things you can't imagine, people who refuse to wear masks when you can't wear masks, refuse to get vaccinated when you can get vaccinated, that kind of thing, you know. It would be finding ways how to make sure that everyone is safe. And so almost beginning, what kind of strategies could we come up with that might be more encouraging for more people to do the right thing? Let me put it that way, okay? And that's kind of loose, which means that puts the medical people and the non-medical people on the same plane, you know, it's the same, but we're just coming at it from different areas. You know, some will do speaking and talking and help out. Others will do actual medical things, you know, because I know when I travel through Africa and different countries and in different places, I also, when there was an outbreak of a disease, I was in there, you know, vaccinating as one of the vaccinators. So I mean, I could jump in here and do that here if I, you know, but we're living in a different world. And I don't think we figured out what to do yet, because this took us so by surprise and there was still so much denial. It's gone now. I want to get back to the way things were. It's almost like we're not learning from this. And Anna always learned something from whatever experience she had, good, bad, or indifferent, to try not to repeat that which was not the right thing, and to see if we can improve on what's good. So I'm hoping that because we are in the medical and then in the healing field, we would collectively begin to think of what could be our contribution as medical mission sisters to not only the conversation or to whatever's going on today in this area. So I appreciate your, Professor, I really appreciate your question.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor. Now we are very close to the end of this meeting. This webinar is an hour that we are together. So I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you. But before to say thanks to all of you, to all the attendees, I want also to ask Sister Mary and then Sister Rosemary if Sister Miriam. I made the same mistake of Professor that my grandmother was Maria, and so I transformed Miriam, that is the old name, is the Jewish name of Maria, in Maria. So terrible sorry for that again. But I just would like to ask to the Sister Miriam if you have anything else to say to this for tonight to us, and then I would like to invite Sister Rosemary to ending this event with just the salute, the final salute to all of us. So, Sister Miriam.
I want to thank you for this opportunity to do this. I'll tell you, I was terrified. I said, how can I? I'm not a Zoom person. It's another horizon. I'm learning all the time. But what I would like to simply say is just keep on keeping on, all of us. Keep hope. Keep hope filled. Be happy. Anna was always be happy, be gracious, be generous, be compassionate. And there's something about, if we are that, it radiates out, but it also is healing and fulfilling in ourselves. And I think she was, in a way, that wasn't her normative way of doing things, but that was the inner Anna that I got to know. And so in some sense, I am channeling her spirit now by saying, be happy, love one another, be joyful. And as she always said, you know, God is with us, God is within us, God is all around us. And in the end, she has this lovely phrase, in the end, love wins.
Sister, thank you, Sister Miriam. Sister Rosemary.
I would like to thank you very much, Miriam Therese, for responding to the invitation to share Anna's legacy, her love, her pioneering, her opening out in a healing way to others. I thank all of the participants here, many medical mission sisters and many friends of ours, and friends in many ways in quite a number of countries around the world, as I can see. And I thank Maurizio and Esharelife for making this wonderful event possible. Thank you very much.
So thanks to all of you. Thanks a lot. Whoever wants to carry on to support Esharelife, whatever we're going to collect as a charity, Esharelife is a full charity. They're going to be all the funds are going to be transferred to the mission, the medical mission sister. As always, we have decided as a foundation to adopt the medical mission sister in one of their projects. So we are going to help also to raise a fund, because that is also what was very clear, Sister Miriam, was that Anna was a delivery, and you need to deliver. You need to deliver because, as you made very clear, medicine, we pray is very important, but as always, we have to be very following our charisma. In this case of Anna, is medicine, they are either important to cure disease. So we need also to provide that, and we need to provide support for the medical mission system. So thanks to all of you. It was a fantastic hour. Thanks to, again, Sister Miriam for this opportunity that was incredible. I want also to thank also Professor Harris, because he was the bridge that was able to us to meet tonight, and also to give us this opportunity. Thanks to all the medical mission sisters for the incredible story. And I tell you that Esharelife wants also to write regarding this. I want to define more the personality of Anna Dengel, also because she is a woman of his own time, but is also an example for all ladies all around the world. As you said very clearly, there is a possibility. She was not stopped to become a doctor. She was not stopped to become a leader. She was not stopped to build in hospitals and to build a sisterhood. She was not stopped even by our own, you can imagine our own difference inside of the church, because the church is not so monolithic as people believe. There is a lot of streams, and she was not stopped by all of that. And she was also, she gave the possibility to all of you and to all of us to follow this great example. So thanks again for sharing with us this incredible personality, and thanks to all of you. And I wish all of you a good day. And I think that the last word is from what you, Sister Miriam, said, as Anna repeat, in the end, love will prevent, love wins. Thank you.